everyone, and welcome to Evolve Yourself TV. I am Agni James, and today we'll be doing a guided meditation, and we will be doing some chat prior to the meditation because that's what we do here. I typically come out, we do some chatting, discuss some of the most intricate problems in the world, and then we move on. Oh, hey, Tindereos, how's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, I hope you're doing well today. How's your day going so far, or your night now, or evening, whatever time zone you're in? I think you said you're from Mexico, right? It is 8:28 p.m. where I'm at in Chicago. Today's been a kind of a crazy day for me in that mental health wise, I had a rough time, and I woke up and I was just really struggling to get anything done, and it was just one of those days where a lot of little things go wrong. Uh, oh, Cancun, nice, cool, yeah. I've never been to Cancun, but I have been to Mexico twice. One time I went to Riviera Maya, and that was it's just the resort community. It's just kind of like I don't know. Is it kind of like Cancun probably? And then the other time I went to just Mexico City. And it was they're very different. They're very different. Hello, JT Farms. Good to see you. Our channel shaman is here. It's like I feel like the stream can never even start until JT Farms enters the picture. There's something about her, she keeps the energy good, and gets siphons out all the bad energy. She's good. What's going on with you, JT? How's life? I got to put you on the spot. What's new? What's new with you? I'm not budging until you start talking. It's been a good day. All right, cool. We're also going to increase your typing skills. I want you up to 100 words per minute by the end of September. So you have what do we have, like 30 days in September, something like that. You or August. I mean, so you have like a few days left. You have a few days left. God, I don't even know what month it is. Dude, these COVID times are pretty crazy. I don't even know what month it is anymore. Wow, are we in August? Are we in September? Are we in July? Like this is getting ridiculous. This is getting absurd. I can't handle this. I just need COVID to go away. Just leave, so we can like all get back to normal and start, hating each other for other reasons. But it's funny though, right? Because like everyone always finds a way and a reason to hate someone else, right? To have a grudge or a grievance against another human being or another group of people, right? One might argue that that's actually in our foundational nature, right? To the opposition and struggle between people and groups of people and clans, right? Right now we have the COVID thing going on, and we have half the world hating the other half, and we have all the divisive politics and all the media sensationalism, and it's just but is this any different? Is this any different than how things have always been, right? That's kind of the question. I mean, I feel like it is. It's the same concept, but it's just more exaggerated, right? So you still have people hating each other for different reasons, but with the speed at which news travels now, people can hate each other quicker. So that's kind of my take on it. That's kind of my take. Hey, what Conjurink 85, how's it going? Good to see you. Ooh, I like that emote. That's nice. Yeah, cool. How you been? How's life with you? Um, you say Tindereos. You say Australia's getting crazy. It's even more extreme there. See, I don't know anything about Australia. Like my understanding of Australia comes from the two streamers that I know that are originally from Australia. Evelyn Yoga. She lives in Australia right now, and my good friend Sunrise Reeds grew up in Australia. Currently, she's in Brazil, but she grew up in Australia and lives there and has lived there most of her life. So I don't know what's going on in Australia. I don't even know. I try to stay away from the news if I can. It always just kind of like ruins my whole existence. Whenever I read it, whenever I read the news or watch the news, I always just feel like oh my God, the world is ending. It's these are end times. But in reality, it's just sensationalism for the most part. JT, you say lots of. Oh, it's been a good day. Lots of cleaning. All right, cool. Uh, Not going to happen. You're not going to get up to 100 words per minute or 500 words per minute. I have strict standards for my channel shaman. My channel shaman's got to step up her typing game. You got to be the quickest typer in the game, right? You like not being able to type. Gives you an excuse to stay in the shadows. You do kind of like lurking in the shadows. I've known that about you. You some days you're a little more lively and out and about, but yeah, for the most part you're very you're nocturnal. I think that's the way to describe you. You're a nocturnal creature. A nocturnal creature. Can I even is that even allowed to can I even say that? Like I don't know. I think so. Um, let's see. Conjuring, you said life's been extremely pleasant. Well, wonderful. Yeah, excellent. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that things have been going well for you. Um, it's been it's everyone I talk to is always all over the place. It seems like lately. So it's good that life's been very pleasant for you as well. Yeah, and there's these notions that that life should always be pleasant and always be happy, and that if not, we're not living to our maximum potential. But that's not the case, right? I mean, life is hard, life is difficult, life's challenging, but at the same time, sometimes it can be pleasant, right? Sometimes it can be joyful. Sometimes we can feel that eternal bliss and love, and when we have those moments where we feel it in our heart, where we feel that oneness and that connectedness with all of creation, it's like man, those are great times, right? Those are wonderful. Um, let's see. Oh, what's going on here in chat? Oh, One Sluggy's here. Hey, I didn't even see you pop in. How are you? How are you doing today? How's life? By the way, that's a pretty cool emote you use. Where'd you get that one from? Yeah, my buddy frequently misunderstood made those emotes for me. So I'm always excited and when I see them, I always give him a little shout out for it. Uh, Tindereos, you say you watched the news. They're giving teenagers $1,000 fines for going out of the house at night, and even shot dogs for being outside after closing hours. Whoa, whoa! $1,000 fines for going out of the house at night. Man, if I was a teenager, I'd be fucked. I'd be screwed. I was always sneaking out at night. I was always going out. I mean, even as a younger kid, like 12 and 13, like maybe 11. We'd have sleepovers and we'd sneak out. That was always like the big thing. And now teenagers can't even go out at night, or else they're gonna have to pay $1,000. That's intense. That's intense. Yeah, with COVID, everyone's either like basically everyone's on edge, regardless. It's like you have one group that's on edge, that's about like getting the actual disease and dying, and then you have like another group that's on edge about like losing their freedoms and their rights to do things, right? And then you have like other people that are just kind of like whatever. But so maybe those people aren't on edge, but yeah, a lot of people are on edge these days. But that's just a sign of the times. I mean, this isn't like the Crusades, right? It's not like when they were going around killing the heathens just for not adopting a particular religion. So I'm sure that was a time to be on edge. There have been plenty of times in human history. Imagine being a Jew living in Germany in the late 1930s. Like, I'm sure you'd be on edge too, right? There's a lot of things that have happened in history that have made people need to be on edge, right? Because we fight for our survival, and that's what we got to do, right? We fight for our rights, we fight for our health, we fight for all sorts of things. The human race is just a warrior race. We're always warring with one another, and I'm always trying to not go that route. Let's just change the script. Like my view is that throughout human history, it's just constant wars after wars. There's a great line from one of my favorite heavy metal bands. I'm big into heavy metal, and Machine Head is one of my favorite metal bands, and they say in times of peace, you must prepare for war. Meaning that like even when you're in a peaceful time, the storm is going to come. The storm is going to come. So it's like that's kind of a line that stuck with me for throughout my life. Let's see, what do we got going here? Uh, oh, okay. So, Tindereos, you say, well, at least the crazy ones are not living close to you. Yeah, right. I mean, that's a huge thing, right? You want people in your community. It's good to have people in your community that do share values and whatnot, and share your beliefs, and you know that's important, right? Because then you have like that community support. I just I used to think that everyone could just be a rugged individualist, because that's kind of like what I've always been. I've always just gone to the beat of my own drum, and I've just done my own thing, and like, but like, it's at some point it is nice to have community, right? Like when we sometimes we need help, sometimes we need help from others, and it's a sign of strength to ask for help, and a lot of people view it as a weakness, but no, I think you have to be really strong to ask for help. Strong in the sense that you're not going to allow your ego to affect your capacity and ability to actually, ask someone for a hand. And we all need a hand sometimes, right? That's just the way it is. Once you're doing good, getting ready for bed in 30 minutes. Thought you would relax in my stream. How are you? How's chat? Well, thank you so much for asking. That's super kind of you. I'm doing all right. Today was like a really weird off day for me. It was filled with like moments of despair and like moments of like intense productivity, and then moments where everything was just kind of going haywire. But yeah, right now everything's all right. I got to check out. I got to stop by a Subi Blues stream today, and I don't. Subi Blue doesn't stream very often, but when he does, I like to hop in there, and they were playing a cool game, so I got to chill in there, and there was some great energy. Grace Yoga was hanging in there. I believe. So yeah, it was wonderful. It's just nice, and that's part of the community, right? That's part of the community here on Twitch. We want to try to support one another, right? A little help is necessary in our lives. All right, where are we at here? Shouting dogs, rat bastards. What are you talking about? JT Farms. I missed the context of that one, but uh, that shooting. Okay, maybe the problem is not that I missed the context. Maybe the problem is actually that I don't know how to read. It turns out I'm fucking illiterate. Yeah. So you said shooting dogs. Yeah. Okay, that's very different, right? And that's why I'm going to give a shout out to analytic philosophy right now, because we're all about clarifying usage of words and making things unambiguous, and we don't like the dark side of language, which would be like figurative language and whatnot. We want everything very straight and to the book, and such that you could put it into a computer program and it would be able to process it only in one direction, right? We don't want ambiguity, no vagueness here. We want clear, precise language usage. So shout out to analytic philosophy. I wonder what happens if I type that into the chat. Shout out analytic philosophy. Let's do it. Bam. Shout out analytic philosophy. Go check out their stream on Twitch. By check out their stream, I mean like either listen to me, because I'm an analytic philosopher, or like go to grad school for analytic philosophy, or just read up on it yourself. It's basically been a major source of inspiration and help for me in my life. Because I'm always someone who's about order, and analytic philosophy is just a very ordered system. I love because it's based on logic. It's just based on the most pure form of reasoning that I can think of, logical reasoning. I guess maybe I could have been a good Vulcan. The problem, maybe I couldn't have been a good Vulcan, because I am very much into the absurd and comedy, and I don't think the Vulcans were really big into comedy, but like I just have such a strong appreciation for order and structure and discipline. Like maybe I would have been good in the military. Both my grandfathers were war heroes. Oh yeah, this is cool. I want to talk about my one grandfather. Actually, I'll say something cool about him. So he was in World War II. He's in Nazi Germany, not Nazi Germany. Well, I think he was in Germany at the time. Yeah, and so he was going out on a scouting mission, basically, and like scouting out some stuff. And and it was nighttime. It was like 2 in the morning or something, maybe 1 in the morning. and he's out there, and he finds his German camp. And my grandfather is like this fucking badass, and just decides that he's just gonna jump in a tank and start blowing everything up. And so he does it. He just starts fucking blowing up this goddamn whole compound, right? And from in this, because he was able to commandeer this German tank somehow, and it was pretty badass. And he got the Distinguished Silver Star for it. And then he was able to radio for help, and they captured 50 Nazis. So shout out to my grandfather. I don't get to talk about my grandfathers that much on the stream. My other grandfather was also a war hero in the Navy. All right, I missed a ton of stuff in chat, so I always got to go back. You guys are getting used to the routine, though. By the way, if anyone takes offense to me saying you guys, that's just how I was raised. I'm sorry. Like, if you take offense, put like a 1 in the chat, and I'll change it. I'll still try to say you guys and girls, all right? Because like, it's I never know. Like I had a kindergartner once call me out on that, because there was a classroom. I'm not always the most politically correct, and I was teaching chess to a bunch of kids from various ages, and the kindergartner, there was one girl in the entire class, and I said, and I was doing something. I said, all right guys, listen up. And the kindergartner, it was the cutest thing in the world. This kindergartner, she was 5 years old, just comes up to me and says, "You said guys, I am not a guy." And I was just like taken aback. I was like, whoa. I've just been using the term guys to refer to like a group of people, like for my whole life, like I never really thought about it. And now this kindergartner's like calling me out. It was pretty interesting. All right, we got to move on with the chat though. Tindereos, you said you don't believe in those fines like those. You think it just tends to not support the government or police. By the way, the philosopher on Twitch I talked about is also into metal, of course. Dude, that's cool. Yeah, I guess there's more philosophers into metal than I thought. There were a couple philosophers in my program that were into metal as well. But yeah, that's cool. And then you said you don't believe in those fines. Like, yeah, it's interesting. There's always a balance about how much government, to have. And that's always seems to be like the big question, in politics, right? People always want to know, like, how invasive should the government be in our lives? I mean, because obviously we can't have no government, right? Because if we had no government, it would just be anarchy. We would have tribes of people running around murdering and raping everyone, right? But if we have too much government, then it's always crazy, because it's like you can't even do anything without getting like permits and like facial scans and like things like that. So it's always an interesting balance. But it's kind of cool though, right? It's kind of cool because human beings are also different in how they believe in their belief set. And some people are perfectly fine with being told what to do all the time, and some people value their freedom and their individuality more than others, right? So it's all about striking that perfect balance, and you're never going to find that perfect balance, but we aim for it. It's an ideal. It's something that we aim for. By the way, notice this is a different cup. I've decided those blue cups are garbage. I'm still going to use them for now. But anyone who's been coming to my streams know I always have those blue crappy plastic cups. I think plastic could be leaching from those cups into my drinking water. I don't want that. So I switched to my my yoga cup. This is a cup that I was given to me by my yoga the owner of my yoga studio, and so I drink out of this cup quite frequently, actually. All right. Victor Soar, hey, all right. Victor Soar, you're here, you're rocking. Good to see you again. I think that by the same time, you have to be able to be independent to truly be with others and help others. Let's see. Same time, you have to be independent to be truly able to help others. Yeah, I'm missing on context. Okay, all right. Yeah, I think I get the point. Though I think I get the point. Yeah, if you're independent, you seem to be able to have more resourcefulness, And so, yes, I'll agree with that. Yeah, in that sense, if you're independent, you tend to be more resourceful, right? Because it's like if something goes wrong in your life, you're used to like trying to fix it on your own, right? You know, that you're that like rugged individualist, you know, and that independent thinker, right? Who's had to come up with like out of the box ways, right? But then, you know, if the storm does come, right? If there's like a major crisis, you know, in your existence, you know, you never know. Like you could be out like, you know, like walking through the woods and you know you could get shot or something and you're just like laying out there, then you know obviously you're going to want someone to come to your aid, right? You're going to want someone to come help you. um, all right, where else are we at? One Soggy said, "Oh, you know Grace, she's dope." Yeah, one dude, One Soggy, Grace is incredible. Grace Yoga is actually one of my favorite people here on Twitch. She's been an inspiration to me. She's been an inspiration to a lot of people in the Twitch community. Just a wonderful beacon of light. That's one way you could refer to her. JT Travis, you can't read. Yeah, I'm illiterate. Turns out I'm completely illiterate. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny that you know I'm sitting here reading chat and not and I'm saying I'm illiterate. I don't know. Tindereos, you say that the link doesn't work for you. Oh, I was just joking around with the analytic philosophy thing. That was me trying to make a joke. Sometimes my jokes don't come across through. Analytic philosophy was simply the program I was in at grad school, and I was just like, shout out to analytic philosophy, basically saying like they're a good group of people. I met some of the coolest, kindest, compassionate people in my life in that program. I had a friend in that program, Ali, and he was just such an awesome dude. He went in there's some kind of like spine, they need spinal fluid. I don't know if any of you are in the medical profession or know much about this, but like apparently like there's like a shortage on like some kind of like spinal fluid, right? And the only way they can get it is through people who volunteer to you know go in and like you know have these injections of like, or not injections, but have them you know suck out some spinal fluid from you know you with through needles, right? And it's like really painful and like this terrible process, right? And you have to go in like 3 times and you're like completely drained and you have no energy and you just basically lie in bed all day, you know, after you get it done. And my buddy Ali just was like, yeah, I'm gonna go do it. And he just did it. It's like, well, how awesome is that? You know, just to, I mean, it's not like giving blood. I mean, you go give blood, it's like you're pretty much fine for the rest of the day, right? But I mean, he was allowing them to stick needles in his fucking spine. Like, dude, this guy is a top-notch guy. Just because there's people in the world that will live because he was willing to do that. I mean, that's a lot. That's 3 whole days of your life that are just completely shot, and you feel like garbage, and you're willing to make that sacrifice. I mean, what a nice dude, right? So yeah, analytic philosophers tend to be really good people. That was my shout out. Um, yeah, my grandfather did have some serious. Dude, my grandfather was a badass on my dad's side, especially like the guy was 72 years old and he used to sell stamps. Like I don't know if other people in the world know this. In America, like you know, we people collect stamps. They used to more, but you know that was like a thing. Like you know how people collect like sports memorabilia, baseball cards, you know, football cards, things like that. You know, in America, you know, people were collecting stamps, right? So my grandfather used to sell stamps, right? And he had a guy, like a 25-year-old guy, come up to his table. My grandfather is like 72, chilling at his you know table selling stamps, you know. And the 22-year-old guy or whatever was basically being really disrespectful, and then started accusing my grandfather of selling him some stamps at some show that my grandfather was never even at. And then the guy started getting like you know really rude to my grandfather, and my grandfather at 72 years old jumped across the table, literally jumped over his table, knocking over like a lot of the shit on his table, grabbed the guy by the throat and started choking him. And he choked out a 22-year-old dude. My grandfather's in his 70s. Like, who the fuck does that, right? But he choked the guy out. He choked him out. It was like this crazy thing. Like, I mean, I can't imagine. Yeah, right? I can't imagine seeing that scene. My grandfather was a badass till the day he died. He was just all war, you know. I mean, and you know, he was in the war. He had, you know, killed a bunch of people and fighting against the Nazis. I mean, he was. And then that just stuck with him, you know. He was also like one of the best high school football players in the country. He was like an athlete, real strong dude. He was the guy that could, he could hold himself up on like the one ring, like gymnast and everything, just pure like ripped muscle intensity, just a really awesome dude. All right, let's see. Oh, hey, Nanera's here. All right, big shout out for Nanera. Did my automatic shout outs not go through? Well, if not, I'll give you another one. ERA Nanera 90. Sorry, it always takes me a while to get to everyone. I'm sorry about that, Nanera. I hope you're well. Nanera is an incredible, wonderful fitness and health streamer here on Twitch. I absolutely love her. She's full of love and light. She does variety streams. She does cooking streams. I've seen her even with Salty working out with on some of his streams before. She's just a positive force that brings people together. She's just a wonderful person. Definitely check out her streams. Definitely drop her a follow. You will not be disappointed, guaranteed. And she even comes by my streams and hangs out here sometimes. Like, why would you want to hang out with me? Like, I'm just this like, this dude on Twitch that just spouting his shit, right? And she even comes out here and hangs out with me sometimes. It's awesome. All right, where are we at here now? We are at, let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. You were sick. You had the allergies. You had the allergies going in era. That's right. How are you feeling better? That's quite a bit of the congestion broke up, and you can breathe much easier today. Awesome. Because when we're sick, we just feel like garbage on every level, right? It's so good. It's so good to have you feeling better. You still have a little sinus pressure and slight cough, but much better. Well, I am super grateful. I am super grateful that you're feeling better. Because you deserve it. We all deserve to feel healthy and loving and feel good towards our fellow human beings. Jedzia Dex is here. Awesome. Hi. So good to see you. Let me give you a shout out as well, Jedzia. I hope you're doing good. Jadzia is a streamer here on Twitch. She is very talented. She's not in the fitness and health community, but she is in the music community. And I always love supporting our artists and musicians. Oops, I didn't do the actual. All right, this is me. I don't know how to multitask apparently. This is like my biggest problem in life. There we go. All right, did it not work? Let me try it one more time. I think either I can't type today or there's a combination of the two. This one should work. There we go. All right. Yeah, definitely check her out. Super talented musician. Is just up there DJing, spinning, just having fun. It's just always great. It's always a pleasure to go to one of her streams. And yeah, I like supporting the artists and musicians on Twitch, right? Because I mean, if you think about it, like, what is Twitch? Twitch is primarily video gamers, right? And it's like, I'm big into video games too, right? I teach chess for a living, and chess is like, all over the internet, right? Chess is like one of the most popular games out there, right? And so like, but it's nice to support the other people on Twitch too, musicians, artists, fitness and health community, people that are bringing creative juices and creative flow to the world, right? I've always thought that's cool. So yeah, check her out. You won't be disappointed. Drop her a follow next time she's streaming. Where are we at here? Yeah, yeah, my grandfather gave no Fs. He gave no fucks. My grandfather was a total badass, military badass, and he had no fear. He was one like sometimes you meet people like that who just have zero fear, and it's like wow, it's like he didn't. I mean, he just gave no fucks. There's actually a book that I read called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and it was pretty interesting. It was pretty neat, and it talks about how people communicate differently in different places around the world. Like they were talking about in the book, the author was describing how in America people tend to beat around the bush when they talk, and they will turn what should be a 1 minute conversation into an hour-long conversation, right? But in other parts of the world that he had visited, people were much more blunt and much more straightforward, and they wouldn't beat around the bush as much, right? So yeah, that's it was kind of a neat book. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I recommend it to anyone. All right, let's see. Yeah, my grandfather was an interesting guy to talk with. I mean, he's long been deceased. He's been deceased for about 20 years or so. But he was just a really, really awesome dude. and both my grandfathers actually. All right. Nanera, it says you can use the at when doing shoutouts to make it easier. You know, you're that's a very good thing. Let me see if let me. I'm gonna give you a shout out and try it out right now because I think I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, and I think I'm. All right, Nanera with the tech tip. Thank you so much. That will make my life a lot easier. That's gonna totally make my life easier. Yeah, because I'm always like trying, and then like if you don't know like precisely like like what like a character is, because sometimes L's are like ones or whatnot. Hey, Subi Blue is raiding with a party of 7. Awesome, Subi Blue. I was actually hanging out in Subi Blue's stream earlier. They were playing an awesome game, and it was really cool to see what they were doing. I think Grace Yoga was in there. It was just a great group of people. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, everyone who does not know Subi Blue, you gotta know Subi Blue. He's a streamer here on Twitch. He's also he's basically all around. This guy is omnipresent. I don't know how it's possible, but like whenever I go to a channel, he's like there. It's like I could like leave the channel and go to a different one, and then he's there. I think the guy's got like 8 different like setups going with like and he's on 8 different channels all at once. He's an amazing person. Thank you so much for that raid. That was super kind of you. Yeah, so like we were just talking about, I was talking about my grandfather a little bit. He was a World War II hero. He ended up capturing 50 Nazis barehanded and commandeered one of their tanks and just blew up their whole area basically where they were all stationed. So he had no fear. Hey, it's Les3S. Thank you so much for the follow. Much appreciated. I just hit the 200 follow mark. We had a celebratory stream yesterday, so yeah. Any follows are always appreciated. All right, yeah, you're all for that autofill. And I just didn't know the autofill didn't work with the shoutout commands because I'm always using it in chat when I'm want to talk to someone. I just didn't know you could use it for the shoutouts. And I have automatic shoutouts set up though, so it should just be going through via automatic shoutouts. But sometimes like weird, Twitch is glitch, right? Twitch is very glitchy, right? Sometimes weird things happen. So yeah. Tindereos, you say you just finished the book, the one from Mark Manson. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Yeah, I think so, right? I mean, I don't know if that's the author. Let me look real quick. Check it out. Yep, that's the book. That is the book. That's cool. Wow, that's so weird that you just read the same book that I did. Yeah, it's a pretty neat book, right? He talks about just not caring so much about other people's judgments, right? And their evaluations or their opinions about you, right? And just kind of like living your life and having that freedom, right? And having that freedom just to pursue the things you want to, even if the world tells you you're wrong, right? It's interesting, it's always interesting, like whether you should give a fuck or not, right? I mean, in some instances, yeah, if it's like your significant other and they or you're a close friend or something, their opinions do matter. Their opinions, do count a lot, and you can, take them in. You should take them in and process them and whatnot. But like for the most part, I mean, it's just if it's just some stranger who gives you a dirty look because they don't like the way you're putting your cart in away at Walmart or something. I mean, it's like yeah, why should you really care, right? Why should you really allow that to affect your overall well-being? Or someone gives you a dirty look when you're driving, or flicks you off. It's like should we allow that to commandeer our peace of mind? One of the major influences in my life spiritually, in addition to all the major religions and major philosophies out there, was a smaller book called Course in Miracles. And Course in Miracles discusses that a lot. They're big into their number one thing with Course in Miracles is all about the notion of forgiveness. That's the main F word that they use in Course in Miracles, the forgiveness word, right? And that's what I think still is the key to everything. The key to all of life itself is just basically forgiving everyone, and not just everyone. When I say everyone, I mean yourself included, right? Because if you can't really, if you still hold a grudge against yourself for something you've done in the past or whatever, then you're not gonna be at peace. You're not gonna be able to feel that eternal love. You're not gonna feel that connection with those around you. You're not gonna, and then if you can't feel that love, you're gonna get caught up in ego battles. You're gonna get caught up in problems like that. But so Course in Miracles is all about like forgiveness and forgiving yourself, forgiving others, and forgiving the world. Like any situations that might have happened to you that were like really like horrific or bad. Like maybe like you were just walking down the street one day and you got shot in the leg or something. Like like weird shit like that, right? You have to forgive. You have to forgive all of that stuff. And according to Course in Miracles, if you do that, you'll be much better off. That's, by the way, that's pretty weird that we both just finished we both just read the same book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Interesting. All right, where are we at here? One Sluggy, he got straight to the point. My type of guy. Yeah, short and sweet, right? Exactly, right? But there is a subtle art to not giving a fuck, right? Because you don't want you want to care. You got to care about the opinions of the people in your close circle. But then, like, I mean, if some stranger, like, are you going to allow some stranger to commandeer your peace and take you from a place of love and light to, like, to being angry because they flick you off? Absolutely not. We shouldn't allow that. All right, where are we at here? Okay, we had the Subi Blue raid, which is so appreciated. Thank you again for that, Subi. And Moon Hanu, did the raid go out for Moon Hanu or not? I'm not the raid. The shout out. Man, my shout outs are not working today, apparently. I like the auto shout outs though. They're supposed to be so cool. It was supposed to solve all my issues, and it just didn't do what it claimed it was going to do. Everyone go check out Moon Hanu. She is a streamer here in the fitness and health community. Totally awesome person, totally awesome individual. Does yoga, does fitness stuff. Just a wonderful human being, and just the kind of person you want to be around, and you want to spend time with. You don't want to go to a channel with someone who's just like a total asshole. You want to go to a channel with someone who has like perfect vibes. I'm not a total asshole. I'm a half asshole. So I'm only half an asshole. So I think that's why people can deal with me. But for the most part, you don't want to check out a stream where someone's like going to be just sitting there being all negative all day, right? All right. And now, oh, look who's here. Terra Time. Hey, Terra Time. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let me give you a shout out as well. Everyone is coming through tonight. This is intense. We have a lot of energy going tonight. Okay, definitely go check out Terra Time. Terra Time's another streamer here in the fitness and health community, and her gift is that, well, in addition to being the emote queen, notice how the amount of motes has increased at least 397% on the emote wall since she has arrived, right? And that, or maybe even higher than that, right? And she's the emote queen. No one can compete with her emote game. She's a wonderful streamer here on Twitch. Her gift, other than being the emote queen, is it just cracks me up. All right, is basically making workouts fun, right? Making workouts fun, because that's what you want at the end of the day. She's a personal trainer. You go to her stream, you're gonna be laughing your ass off, and you're gonna be getting a good workout in, which is super awesome. Okay, all right, where are we at here? Yeah, so welcome Raiders. I hope you're all well. I didn't even do my introduction. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Agni James, and we just I just talk a lot about all different issues, and then we meditate. Les 3S. Let's see. You say, "Hello, I hear you're quite the philosopher." Let's hear it. You want to hear about philosophy? Well, what aspects of philosophy? I mean, philosophy has a ton of different areas, right? I mean, there's epistemology, there's logic, there's aesthetics, there's philosophy of mind, philosophy of science, philosophy of religion. I mean, there's metaphysics. There's ethics. I mean, what branch of philosophy do you want to hear about? I don't like talking about ethics as much, but yeah, I mean, we do discuss philosophy, and you hear that I'm quite the philosopher. I am not quite the philosopher. I consider myself a mediocre philosopher. I do have a master's in analytic philosophy, so I understand philosophy enough, but it's not like I've devoted my entire existence to academic philosophy. I kind of just I like to talk with people, just the people who are not as academically inclined to, because they tend to know a ton about philosophy as well, and they tend to know just as much in different ways. But yeah, I would not say I'm quite the philosopher. Jadzia Dex, oh wow, big ups to your grandpa. Yeah, my grandfather was amazing. amazing dude, amazing dude. Anyone who's just fearless like that, is just willing to risk his life. I mean, he was in hand-to-hand combat, literally having to fucking kill people with his bare hands. I mean, that's crazy, right? We don't live in a time. I mean, like, I'm lucky. I don't live. Oh my bot. You know what? I know what's going on here. I know what's going on. I know what's going on with the bot. I know what's going on exactly. All right, and I can fix this. This is actually a problem I'm going to fix, a tech problem that I'm going to fix for once. And I'm so happy that I just came to this realization of what's going on. All right. Yeah. There we go. All right, there we go. So yeah, it turns out that I just didn't connect my chatbot. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Why is my chatbot not working? Why are my auto shoutouts not working? Right? Um, so I just that's on me. This one actually is on me. Now normally I'd like to blame other people. Well, it's still not connecting perfectly. We'll see. We'll see if it works. But whatever. I have the ability to do auto shoutouts or to do regular shoutouts as well, so we can always manage that way. All right. Let's see where are we at. Nara, let's see, you're doing pretty good. Just relaxing, popping around, saying hi. Awesome. All right. Tons of emotes from Terra Time because she's the emote queen. And where else are we? Where else are we? I think we're almost caught up. Am I gonna actually catch up for once? Okay. Lest 3S. You said let me repeat, please. One does not define themselves by books, but by experience and in their choices. Yeah, you could definitely define yourself by experience and choices, and I think that's more. I think that's probably more valid. That's probably a better way of existing, right? Experience. I mean, think about what you learn from experience, right? And the choices you make, right? Assuming free will exists, I always gotta throw that there because we have the hard determinists that come in here that are like free will, shmee will. That doesn't. There's no free will, right? But yeah. Experience is the great teacher. Experience teaches wisdom. I mean, you can get. I read a ton. You get a lot from books as well, but you need that experience as well. Like you'll meet people sometimes that basically are just like cloistered in a room and will just sit, and they'll just read all day and never go out into the world, right? And they're smart in some areas, but in other areas they're not, right? And then you meet people that have never read a book in their life, and they're completely brilliant in certain ways, and are illiterate, right? So I think you make a really good point there, Les 3S. So definitely, absolutely. All right, where are we at here? And oh my God, look at this! I've made it we made it all the way to the end of chat. The slowest reader on Twitch that also deserves a prize. Just kidding. Yeah, well, we made it. We made it here. We made it to this point. I think we're ready for meditation. I mean, this is what we do. We come here, we do some chatting, and then we do some meditation. I usually kind of get sick of hearing myself talk at a certain point, and I'm kind of at that point right now. Let's see, JT Farms, you said what's going to happen? You're at the end of chat. I know, right? I actually made it through chat today. I made it through it. I didn't skip much or anything. Terror Time, all my kisses for you as well. Thank you. It's very kind. So this is like uncharted territory, right? I mean, I could talk about my cat. I could talk about all sorts of stuff. But let's see, Tindereos, you say sometimes when you go to channels with thousands of viewers, you're surprised they can keep up with chat. Yeah. Well, well, here's what they do, and this is a crazy streamer trick, right? They cherry pick, right? So basically, they have a lot of pre-scripted responses, right? That they can give to the questions that they get repeatedly, right? So they'll say they get a question like 1,000 times. Of course, eventually after 1,000 times of getting a question, you're going to develop like a clever, good response to that question, right? So they have these pre-scripted responses, and then whenever someone new is in the chat and asks that question, they'll seek out that question and they'll cherry pick it, and then they'll give that pre-scripted response so they can just knock down questions, and then if a question is gonna if there's a question that is gonna require too much thought or they don't find interesting, they just skip it. So they don't always get to everyone, but a lot of times they'll do they're good at with the pre-scripted stuff. Um, let's see. Tindereos, you say, oh no, or Lester, you say, how am I going to say? I met a person who did philosophy, but he was a Mr. Know-it-all, but he forgot, and I am very smart too. It was so annoying. Yeah, I mean that's just anyone with a big ego, right? You know, I've met physicists like that. I've met scientists like that. I've met people in all different disciplines, right? Businessmen, right? You meet someone and it's like they think they know everything, that there is to know about a subject, but so a lot of times they're not willing to listen to just the dude on the street that comes up to them. I'm more interested typically in what the dude on the street has to say, than the academic. I've been in academia, right? I know that world. I know that existence, right? I know how that you have to frame things certain way and discuss things certain ways, and that you have, but it's great. I mean, I learned a lot. I enjoyed it. It was a great experience. But yeah, like you make a really good point there, Les 3S. The just talking with people about philosophy in your day-to-day routine, and just on the street is a lot of times more insightful than academic philosophers, and that's just kind of how it is. That's just how it's been, right? Victor Sor, you say there is a saying: one who thinks he knows everything in reality knows nothing, and one who knows he knows nothing knows everything. Yeah, and that's like Socrates, his whole thing, right? He was the man because he admitted how much he didn't know, right? I mean, when you have people that are claiming they know everything, it's like, dude, this person doesn't, this chick or dude doesn't know anything, right? This was woman or guy, they don't know anything, they don't know what they're talking about. Like what are we even saying here, right? Um, lest through us, you say that's why I said knowledge doesn't come from books. Well, so I would disagree with you in that to some extent. I would say some knowledge. There is some knowledge that comes from books, right? I would say wisdom, though. I made this. Wisdom is more from your life experience. There's an important distinction between knowledge and wisdom, right? Like knowledge is just basically like memorization of facts and like understanding concepts and things and how they things and how like for instance, like let's say you're a particle physicist, right? The knowledge about physics, it pretty much is going to have to come from books, right? Because I mean, where else are you gonna learn, all the intricacies of working with particle physics, right? But that's just knowledge. That's not wisdom, right? Wisdom is something different. Wisdom is much more can come from experience much more, I'd say. But yeah, you do bring up a good point. Subi Blue, you're off to barbecue for Moon. Have a great stream, my friend. Well, I hope you too have a wonderful time. That's awesome that you're doing a barbecue for her. Yeah, now you're getting me hungry. You're getting me thinking about barbecue. Thank you so much again for the raid, Subi Blue. That was super super kind of you. Much appreciated. And yeah, have a good time cooking. I like cooking out at the grill sometimes. It's just a good feeling. You go out and you barbecue, cook up some good food. Share it with your friends. I'm actually having a barbecue at my place on Sunday. It's I don't have many gatherings where and barbecues at my place, but this Sunday my buddy frequently misunderstood. His name is frequently misunderstood on Twitch. He's the guy that made my emotes. He's my friend. He's coming in town from Oregon. He moved out to Oregon about a year ago, so he's going to be in town, and he wanted to try the best beef on the planet, or the beef. He wanted the best steak on the planet, right? So I guess it's called Wasu, or Wasu, or Wasgu, or Wagyu. No, Wagyu, I think it's called Wagu, and it's from Japan, and it's ridiculously expensive. It's literally like $2, $3, $400 for like a 4, 5, 6 ounce piece of this steak, right? It's crazy, right? But he wanted it. He wanted to try it, so he literally shipped me from Japan. He got it shipped in 1 or 2 days shipping or whatever over in dry ice. This piece of Wagyu, or yeah, that's it. Wagyu, Waigu, Tinderos. He shipped it to me, so I have it. I have it in my freezer right now. Tomorrow I'm just gonna let it thaw, and then Sunday we're gonna cook it up. And he's gonna eat it. He wanted to try it because it's, I don't know. He's a big food guy though. He wants like the best of the best. I'm much more laid back about food. Like if something just tastes good, like I don't need a piece of beef that's gonna cost me a steak that's gonna cost me $400. I don't need that, right? something that I need. But if I have like an appetite, but I do love a good steak, right? Don't get me wrong. All right, where are we at here? Where are we at here? All right. Nonfiction books, of course. Yeah, yeah. Nonfiction in nonfiction books, yeah, you learn a lot about you learn a bunch of facts and knowledge about stuff. Yeah. Less 3S. You say okay for the philosopher mind. What came first, the chicken or the egg? It's very simple. Yeah. Well, what came first? I mean, whenever you're asked those questions, right? It's always you just typically they don't they're not very productive because you don't come with an answer, right? But knowledge typically has been shown to come from just facts you hear from talking to people and just things you read in nonfiction books, right? And wisdom is just kind of like a disparate thing, right? It's like someone can have wisdom to like not be to not get angry and to not lose their cool in a situation where if they do so, it could get them in a lot of trouble, right? That's wisdom, right? And you could be super knowledgeable, but if you lose your cool in a situation where it can get you in trouble, I mean, there you go, right? That right there is an example of the distinction between wisdom and knowledge. So, and what's more important? I don't know. They're probably. I mean, I would argue that maybe wisdom is more important. Um, but if you're an academic, maybe you're gonna say knowledge is more important, or you're probably gonna say that the combination of the two is what's important. All right, where are we at here? A primordial form of a chicken, I would guess, given the nature of evolution. Yeah, some other. I mean, I think that's like the standard view in science, right? Right now, according to the scientific paradigm, right? That it was just some kind of like hybrid, some primordial creature that gave rise to something close to like an egg, or whatever, or any of that. Let's see. The chicken came first. Two other birds did it. They laid an egg, and from the egg there was the first chicken. It wasn't a chicken in the egg. It's simple. Um, all right, all right. Well, let's see. I think we're moving into the point where we're gonna actually go into meditation pretty soon. I'm just feeling the energy. I'm feeling the energy from chat, right? You think wisdom, Victor? So you say wisdom is very different from knowledge. You think that unlike knowledge, which may be applicable in particular situations, wisdom tends to be applicable in every situation. Breath time, JT. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you on that. JT Farms, you say breath time for sure. It is a breath time, right? And for all of us, right? For all of us, it's important. It's important to take breaths. I mean, to just go into in the meditation, because at the end of the day, this is actually perfect. I love that we're having we're having debate today and that we're having discussion, because what I always talk about is that we can have opposing views. It doesn't matter what view you hold. You can have opposing views with another person, and you can still feel love for that person. And that's like a major point of the evolve yourself channel, and like the evolve yourself streams, to try to teach others to still love thy neighbor, right? Who said that? Jesus, right? Love thy enemies, right? Love thy neighbor. No, he said love thy enemies, I think. You can love anyone, right? So like yeah, that's just it's great. So like, yeah, the belief set that any individual hold does not preclude you from from feeling love and kindness towards them, because I believe foundationally we're not our consciousness. We're a place of perfect love and oneness within. And because I hold that view, it makes it really easy. It makes it easy in the sense that I can feel love for everyone out on the street, unconditional love, even for the attacker, even for the person that's attacking me. Now, can I do it in the moment? Usually not, right? It's really hard to do. You slip up from time to time, right? Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But to feel love for someone who hates you, that right there is what I would consider wisdom, right? The ability to actually feel kindness and compassion for someone who absolutely hates you, right? That's a pretty cool thing to do. All right, where are we at here? Let's see. Less 3S, you say Jesus didn't have neighbors, especially not the cave. Yeah, I misspoke when I said love thy neighbor. I love thy enemy, though, right? That's what he said, right? Didn't have neighbors, especially not in the cave. Oh, you're saying Jesus is Plato? I don't know. Unless you're going into the allegory of the cave here right now, which I discuss a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think we're going to go into stuff. Not only wisdom, I think that it also takes strength to love people. It takes total strength to love someone who hates us, right? I mean, imagine that. Imagine that. So you're walking down the street, someone comes up to you, punches you in the face, right? And then like runs away, like right? They just dart. They run away and they're like really quick and they hop in a car and they take off, right? It's like you're gonna be angry, right? You're gonna be like super like riled up and like and whatnot, right? You're gonna feel like what the fuck, like something. This person's an asshole. Why are they doing this to me, right? Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's eventually, hopefully, you can just let that go and you can still feel love for the person, but you can hate what they did. And you can say what they did was wrong, was not the right move, and that was like, a pretty dick move just to come up to me and punch me in the face unprovoked. But at the same time, like, you can still feel love for that person. That's the distinction I like to make. Yeah, it's kind of like turn the other cheek thing, right? Absolutely. Just like basically, yeah, you can still feel love and care about the person even if they've done something, quote unquote wrong. You don't believe that. Okay, well, that's fair enough, and I respect that. I respect that you have a different opinion and you're willing to admit it. One of the main things that I'm all about here in and Evolve Yourself, and then you'll see if you hang around the channel a lot, is that everyone's entitled to their opinion and whatever they believe, as long as it's not like super insulting or whatnot, direct, like an ad hominem attack. I'm not gonna allow for ad hominem attacks. If trolls get too disruptive, I'm not going to allow for them. But I'm all about radical, open, and honest communication. I think it's super important. A few years ago, I decided I'd be radically open and honest in the way I communicate with others, and it changed a lot in my life. And it made some friendships, dissolve a bit, and it kind of fractured some friendships, but it also made some friendships stronger. And so it's been this big thing in my life to be, and there's something about the freedom to be able to express yourself, just to be able to like, say what's on your mind and to not be restricted and have duct tape over your mouth, right? And I'm not talking about screaming fire in a crowded movie theater. Obviously, I'm not talking about something where someone's going to be physically hurt, but like just to be able to express yourself, right? Freedom of expression is so important to me. I really need that in my life. Let's see, where are we at here? Yeah, if he even existed, I think historically they say that there was this Jesus figure. That's what history is basically is arguing, and there's more evidence that he existed than he didn't, right? But whether or not he had the supernatural powers or whatever the story, whether the stories about him are accurate, was always one of the things that's up for debate, right? But I think it's pretty well believed that that there was someone named someone with that name who lived in that time period that exhibited a lot of the same attributes as him. So who knows though? We don't know, right? I mean, they say the winners are the ones that write history, right? The winners of the wars. So I don't know. Where are we at here? Let's see. Tindereos, you said you don't believe in religion at all. Ooh, you hope. Wow, you think religion is a pernicious has a pernicious effect on the human psyche. That's a cool take. I mean, atheism is interesting, right? Well, when Nietzsche said God was okay. By the way, this is kind of interesting. Nietzsche's famous for saying God is dead, right? Now, when he said that, what he did not mean was that there is a actual figure in the world, that there is an actual being that is God who is now that is dead, right? And a lot of people don't know that notion, right? They don't understand what Nietzsche was actually referring to. What Nietzsche was actually referring to was that humanity had evolved to a point morally such that we no longer had the need for a God. And that's what he meant. And that's like his most famous quote, oh, Nietzsche, God is dead, right? Funny story, I saw a girl, there was a girl wearing a shirt that said God is dead, Nietzsche, right? On the front, and then on the back it said Nietzsche is dead, God.
I always thought that was a funny shirt to own. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting whether or not religion is beneficial. Tindereos, you bring up a really good point. I mean, is it beneficial to believe in religion? I'm for some people would argue absolutely. Like, I mean, you hear stories all the time, right, about how people, someone maybe converts to, I don't know, Catholicism or Christianity or Judaism or something, right? They convert to, or Buddhism, right? They convert to something, and they have a lot more happiness and joy and abundance in their life, right? They feel better, right? So in that sense, it has a lot of utility. But then you also, with religion, you have people that are like waging wars against each other and murdering people and all that stuff. So it's like, you have all that kind of stuff as well. So is it beneficial? I mean, it's a tough thing. Personally, what I've done, I mean, I don't believe in any one particular religion, but I've kind of gone through all the different religions and philosophies on the market, and then I've taken things from all those religions and philosophies into my own belief system, into my own belief set, right? I've incorporated them. Things that feel true to me, things that have a resonance that just resonates with me very on a strong level, on a strong frequency, right? And then also the things that have come to me through a life experience, just like Les 3S was saying earlier, life experience is so important. And the things that have come to me through meditation. And I've just kind of combined all of that into my own spiritual belief system, right? And so, I mean, I wouldn't call it a religion, but I mean, it has a lot of parallels to religion, and that it works well for me, and it's something that I feel is very foundationally significant to my being, right? So I go with it. All right, where are we at here? All right, Les 3S, you say you're going to be 100% honest. Foster brother ruined my foster sister's entire life. She is all right now. Would I kill or maim that foster brother? No, don't think so. Yeah, I mean, and you know what? I appreciate that 100% honesty. 100% honesty. I love it. He did that by raping her. Yeah, thank you for expressing that. That's like super. That's super honest, right? And those are tough things to discuss, right? I mean, how many people have that strength to be that open and honest, about things that are like that, right? And it's a rarity, but you have that, and that's cool. That's cool that you're willing to share that. And I try to be the same way when I communicate. I try to do so in as openly and honestly a fashion as possible. And so you're saying you would not maim or kill that foster brother. You don't think so? And you know what? That's awesome. That's awesome. You have a place in your heart where you feel, it's like, okay, you can not like the actions, you can hate the actions that the person has done, right? But you can, but you don't want to actually kill the person right now. You would, if you had a choice of whether you would stab it, would stick a knife in their heart or not right now, you would choose not to. And you could, yeah, you said you could easily do, but you wouldn't. And that's important. That shows a lot about your character, right? There's some people that wouldn't, right? And then they end up spending the rest of their lives in jail. I mean, is that who wins there, right? Who wins there? I mean, it's like, what did you gain? What did you gain by exacting vengeance, right? You gained a lifetime in with shitty meals in prison. Worrying about just basically in despair. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Tindereos, let's see. You hope that people will change from religion into philosophy. Interesting. Okay. So now, and then you go into one philosopher you read stated there's a big difference between religion and spirituality because religion takes spirituality and adds dogma. I think that it's an interesting idea. Yeah. And traditionally when you think about religion, when you hear religion, you think about very like orthodox, ritualistic practices, right? They have their books, right? They have their set of books, and you need to like follow, and abide by the principles, in those books, right? That's like the paradigmatic example of like religion, and when you hear the word, right? But religion, it does tend to have, while it does tend to have more dogma and more rituals and things like that. I mean, that's just it's just kind of like a fashion show the way I see it, right? Because the core belief, and the core presence in religion is typically really, really good, right? If you look at the foundational tenets of any major religion, I mean, what are they saying? They're saying, love thy enemy, right? They're saying, Buddhism is saying, be compassionate, right, to all human life. Jainism is saying, brush away even the insects. Don't even hurt an insect, right? I mean, these are like good, positive things, right? These are wonderful things. It's when you have these weird interpretations that stem off from religion, and that skew the message, of the foundational message. But a lot of times ritual does help people. Some people feel like ritual gets them in the mood to be connected to the divine, or to be connected to all human beings, or to feel love in their hearts, right? So yeah, that's my take on it. Have you read? I can never pronounce even the name, Zarathustra. No, I have not. I have not read Zarathustra. Yeah, I have not read that. I have not read that, but I've heard about it. Lest you say, you are saying you haven't found your true grounds yet. So what I'm saying is my foundational belief system, my metaphysics, is basically always being reevaluated. So I'm constantly looking. At my core beliefs, whatever beliefs are at my foundation, and I'm saying, are these beliefs true to me? Do these beliefs make sense? I'll yank out a belief that I feel that maybe doesn't make sense and no longer serves me, and I'll incorporate a new belief into that space where that old belief resided. So I'm constantly arranging my beliefs. I think it's important to reevaluate my beliefs periodically, right? Because a lot of times, we grow, we change, we evolve, and if we stick to the same beliefs that we had 30 years ago, I mean, that could lead to disaster, because we could be different people, right? An example I give sometimes is that the belief set, and when I say belief set, I mean the totality, the totality of all beliefs that are currently in your conscious mind, right? That are in your consciousness, right? So your belief set is when you were 5 years old is vastly different, right, than your belief set when you were 10 years old, right? The things you believed when you were 5, you believed in Santa Claus, probably, or something like that, maybe. And when you were 10, you believed in different stuff. And when you were 15, the beliefs that you held then was vastly different than the beliefs you held when you were 10 years old, right? And then, as you get older, you just are constantly, incorporating new beliefs into your belief set, and getting rid of old ones, right? And so that's something that I do, and I try to do it in a very active way, right? Because you could do it actively and you can do it passively. I like to do it in a very active way, and really like go into meditation and see what beliefs I hold, and see if there's any contradictions, right? Because cognitive dissonance it's a psychological notion that basically says that if you have two competing beliefs, or like X and not X, right? Like two beliefs that are contradictory, that you're going to have in your mind unpleasantness, and you're going to, until that conflict is resolved, you're going to have like a state of immense discomfort or whatnot, depending on how foundational those beliefs are. So I'm always looking through my belief set and trying to adjust my beliefs, and see what is more beneficial for me, and what seems to be more in line with what I would deem capital T objective truth. And I do believe that there is capital T objective truth located within our internal core, within our foundational being. And I don't believe that looking in the external world for it is ever going to bring us to it. And that's something that's very foundational to me. Would I ever question that? Absolutely. I've questioned it many times in my existence. Right? I'll come out and I'll wipe away my foundation. There was actually a period of time where I pulled a Descartes, and I said, I'm going to get rid of every single belief that foundational belief that I hold. Let's just completely wipe out the structure of all my beliefs. And I let all my belief system crumble, basically. And then I said, okay, what can I know? What are the things that I can know? What are the things that are important to me? What's important in life? And what I came up with at the time was that life was all about maximizing one's happiness, and you wanted to do so by helping others, by helping the people around you. And so that was the initial starting point that I sprang from, right? That you want to help people and maximize your happiness and their happiness. That's what life was all about, right? And so I went from there, and then I just kept on adding new beliefs on top of that, right? I missed a bunch of stuff in chat. Look at this. I easily I fell behind in chat again. What a surprise, right? Where are we at? Where are we at here? JT Farms, you say religion and spirituality are two separate things for you. You're not religious at all, but you're spiritual, but you're all about spirituality. Yeah, and I get that, right? I totally get that. And you know what? Most of the people in my circles, in my circle, tend to be similar, right? I don't have many friends that are like super orthodox, dogmatic, overzealous, about a particular religion, right? Most of my friends tend to be more laid back about things like that. But I have some friends that take their faith, whatever faith they have, very 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 seriously, their religion, and it's like, and that's just how it goes. But I like talking with everyone, and I love everyone, so it's all cool, we make it work. All right. Um, Les 3S, you say, I am saying all gods are man-made because we couldn't explain things yet, like thunder, so they called it Thor. Yeah, social constructionism, right? Social constructions, right? And that's, you can see that a lot. You can see that a lot in the ancient religions, right, where they would have like gods of everything, right? They would have a god for like every different thing. The god that would be for fertility. They would have a god for crops. There would be a god for hunting. There would be a god for finding shit that you lost. Even, I mean, there would be a god for your ancestors. A god for for clouds, right? I mean, yeah, like just like you said, you make a good point there, and that's how it used to be. You can see it the most in the polytheistic religions, right? In monotheism, it's a little different, but it still is the same concept that you bring up. All right. Tindereos, you say believing in a higher force as a god, spirit, or whatever. Okay, believing in a higher force. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Yeah, I mean you can believe, and that you can believe in just like some kind of higher being or higher energy, right? It doesn't need to have a name, right? In fact, it's kind of weird to like throw a name onto God, right? Onto a god, right? That would be like, it's kind of weird. It seems a little weird, like coming from a monotheistic standpoint, right? But yeah, it's higher force or spirit, or whatever. Yeah, you could just say even energy. You could say like universal energy. I mean, that's what I'll say a lot. That's like a very like non-controversial, like it's kind of generic, but it's like if you believe in the universal energy of life, I mean, that could be your God or spirit or whatever, right? Let's see. Less 3S, you say no belief nor philosophy makes sense because we made it up all but ourselves. It's that easy. So for you, it's that easy. That's interesting. For me, it's not that easy, right? For me, it's not that easy. I actually do believe in capital T, like capital T, objective truth. I believe that there is objective truth in the world. We just don't. It doesn't exist within this dualistic framework. I believe so. Like my personal notion, and by the way, I totally respect what you're saying, and I've been there. I know exactly what you're saying because I used to take that route. I used to believe in that exact thing. That everything was just a social construction. All the gods and whatnot and all that stuff. But I do believe that there is objective capital T truth that would exist, even if we didn't exist, and that it is foundational to our nature. What I don't believe is that we can find it within dualism. I think my personal metaphysics holds that within monism, within a state of pure oneness and love that we have at our core, at our foundation, that is where truth is. That is where objective capital T truth lies. But that if we go out just into the world trying to find it, we're always going to be disappointed. No one's ever going to be able to tell you what truth is. You need to figure it out. You need to go into it. You need to experience it. And this kind of brings up a cool subject too. Like, can you actually understand something without experiencing it? Can you truly understand something if you've never had that experience? Right. That's a cool talking point. All right. Let's see. Tindereos, you say. Zarathustra is it's Nietzsche's book, okay, in which God is dead and Zarathustra lives in the mountains and met different people like the Pope, and they come together because they don't know where to go or what not to. Okay, well then that's where I've heard it. That's where I've heard it. Yeah, okay. I've never read it. I've never read it. I like I said, and I always say I'm an analytic philosopher. I don't know much about continental philosophy, and Nietzsche is a paradigmatic continental philosopher. The name Nietzsche was never even spoken in grad school when I was there, and so I've just read little excerpts from him along the way, and I know like little bits and pieces from Nietzsche. I'm trying to think if I've ever read anything like substantial by him. I think I did actually many years ago, but I can't recall it right now. Tinderos going to the pool. See you later. We'll have a great time. Have a great time at the pool. That sounds like awesome. I wish I was at the pool right now. Victor Soar. Victor Soar. Hey, good to see you. All right. You say perhaps replying to okay perhaps, but isn't this also true for every field of study? Some people hold on to dogmatic ideas, whereas others rely more on deductive or inductive reasoning logic. I think the true philosophy is not dogmatic. Yeah, absolutely, and I agree 100%. True philosophy is not dogmatic, right? Once philosophy starts getting dogmatic, it ceases to become philosophy. That's like what I hold actually. If it's no longer philosophy, then like what are you doing? You're basically just like spouting off dogma, right? You're spouting off just things you've read in books just because you think they're true, right? So I'm definitely on point with or in agreement with you on that point. Lester asks, you say, what is important in life is indeed what is important in life indeed a religion or a belief? I don't know about that. Yeah, why, and then they made polytheism and monotheism, same deal. It's very simple because don't know truth only out of perception of interpretation of truth. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? And I say this all the time, right? So Immanuel Kant was the most profound thinker from the Enlightenment, and Immanuel Kant drew a distinction between the phenomenal world and the noumenal world, and the phenomenal world is the world of sensory experience, right? So the phenomenal world is the world that we experience in our day-to-day lives. Less through us, it's basically like you go out to the grocery store, right? And you go shopping, you go to work, right? You do all the things you normally do in your daily life, right? That's the phenomenal world, right? Because it's based off of sensory experience, right? So what happens is we have five senses, right? And we use our five senses to pull in the tiniest, smallest fragment of data that's available that we can actually process, right? Because if there's so much data out there that there's no way that we could actually take all that data in and process it, right? So we pull in a little bit of this data through just these five senses and the instruments that we build off five senses, such as like microscopes, telescopes, polymerase chain reaction, etc. Right? So we pull off. Wait, PCR is not even in the right category. I'm sorry about that. But anyways, so we pull in this data, and then from that tiny little bit of data, we process it using our finite minds, and we try to extrapolate and draw a picture of the world basically, and see the world through a perceptual framework. That's how perception is created. But what we're not actually seeing is how things actually are in themselves. We're not seeing what Kant referred to as the noumenal realm, how things would exist if we were some being like looking up high down over the earth. If we were some being like way up there looking down and seeing and if we were omniscient, right? If we had all the knowledge and all the wisdom of the universe, if we knew everything, if we knew every piece of data, and we had infinite processing power, then there would be an objectively true world, right? So Kant drew these two distinctions, between the phenomenal and the noumenal realms, and he believed and he argued that we don't have access to the noumenal realm. We don't have access to that perfect state of truth. We only have access to the phenomenal realm. In my metaphysics, I argue that we do have access to the noumenal realm, but it's only when we go to our foundational core. That the whole paradigm of searching for truth out there, and those of you who grew up watching the X-Files, or have ever seen this show, the X-Files, right? They always say the truth is out there, it's out somewhere, right? The truth was never out there. I believe, according to my metaphysics, that the truth is inside, and that when we go internally, we can connect with that pure love, which is the foundation of all existence, and then we're at that spot of truth, right? So that's my take on it. But that's just my opinion, right? I would never try to push that on anyone. That's my opinion. Um, Victor Sora, you say formal logic, which is based on the simple premise that things or qualities either exist or they do not exist. Yeah, is very supported by evidence, which is why formal logic is considered a mathematical language. It is a mathematical language. In fact, when I took logic in grad school, it's literally called first order predicate calculus. It's math. And mathematicians tend to be good analytic philosophers, and they tend to be good computer programmers too, right? It's all math. Computer programming. If you're in a computer programming, you're doing math. But it's also a language, right? And there's no ambiguity in the language either, right? It's just a straightforward language. And you put it very well here, Victor Soar. You're good at putting things in very analytic terms. I like that. And then less three, you say, sure, but there is still an interpretation of the truth because no one knows that truth, only our perception of it. Yeah, there's always interpretations of the truth, right? But that still doesn't deny the fact that there is a foundational truth. Somewhere along the line, there is a capital T objective truth of everything, of all that exists. It exists. It has to, right? It has to exist. Now the question is whether we have access to it, whether we're ever going to know what that truth is, whether we're ever going to experience it. And if a lot of people will say no. A lot of people would say there's no way we're ever going to be able to experience that capital T objective truth. All we're going to have is our perceptual truth, right? And things that make sense according to this perceptual realm in which we live in. Moon Hanu, all right, you're off. He said, have a great evening, guys. Off to find dinner night. Well, hey, thank you so much for being here, and it was great seeing you earlier, hanging out with Subi Blue, yeah, big shout out again to Moon Hanu. Check out her streams. She's a great instructor. I'm gonna throw that shout out again out now. Bam. All right, there we go. A little love, spreading the love, right? All right. Let's see where we at here. Les 3S, you say, no, the truth was always out there. We just don't perceive it. We don't have the perceptual apparatus to perceive it. We don't have our five senses are limited, right? We can't take in enough data and process it, right, to perceive it. But the truth is there. The truth it's here right now. It's never gone anywhere. The truth has always been. The truth has always been. There's never not been the truth. So yeah, and then people give like cognitive closure arguments, and things like that, saying that we'll never be able to understand, certain things. I shouldn't say cognitive closure. I should just say closure arguments. Cognitive closure is basically saying we'll never be able to understand the mind-body problem, how it is something immaterial such as consciousness can arise from something material such as the brain. But closure arguments are simply just basically, we're closed off to access to it. We don't have access to it, right? Victor Story, you say, yeah, technically nobody knows if we're not all hooked up to matrix machines. So in truth, nobody knows anything. Yeah, but that is the nature of science. We believe what appears to be the most likely explanation. Absolutely, and very much so with science. And science, remember, science is not dealing, funny enough, science is not dealing with capital T truth, right? Science is dealing with objects in the phenomenal realm, objects of sensory experience, things that we can taste and touch and feel, and then the instruments that we've built to actually expand, the spectrum that we can, process data, right? So we can interpret gamma waves and see have another lens that enables us to see X-rays and things like that, right? So like science deals with our objects of experience within this dualistic realm. I believe my metaphysics is that this dualistic realm is illusory, right? That it doesn't have any substance outside of out from the context of eternity. So if you take all of eternity, if you imagine yourself as like the omnipotent being or some omnipotent force, and you're looking down on all that has ever existed, right? You're coming from it from outside of this dualistic paradigm, right? dualism wouldn't even be real. Dualism wouldn't exist, because all it is simply something that's within the confines of space of the spatial temporal paradigm that we currently live in, and within those and that's eventually one day probably just going to, or science is even supporting that it's going to collapse, or just going to be, the infinite expansion or whatever, and it's just, and it's going to, monism is going to retake that its place. And that's just my, these are things that I believe, right? I'm not saying, like I said, it's, you can believe whatever you want. You're all, everyone's entitled to your own opinion, and I'd rather have you go out into the world and form your own judgments and opinions than just sit here and listen to what Agni James tells you on Evolve Yourself TV, right? But I do outline my metaphysics, because my metaphysics makes a lot of sense to me, and it also has a lot of utility. So that's why that's why I outline it and I explain it like I do. All right, where are we at here now? Where are we at here? Oh, now we have a lot of shout outs going out now. I guess we got triple shout outs going out now. Oh yeah, and join my Discord. I created a Discord a week ago. or a week and a half ago now, I think. So yeah, so definitely join my Discord and check it out. All right, less 3S. What if there wasn't an omnipotent being of all yourself, but just dualism? And that's a good question. That's a really good question. So okay, I can tell you this. There are two of the greatest pre-Socratic philosophers are Parmenides and Heraclitus, right? And these two philosophers believed in basically complete opposite things, right? Parmenides, and I go along with a lot of his foundation, his beliefs, in that there only is oneness, all right? There only is oneness, and my support, the evidence that I have to support that, is very much experience based. And here's why. Because when I live out my first 20 years 19 years living out in life, like everything was very experience based. I was very atheistic for the most part. I never believed in any religion. I wasn't raised with any religion, so it was kind of interesting. Like the concept of God didn't even exist in my world, right? My parents never mentioned the word God. It was just not even a thing. It was like as important as the pet rock in my family, right? It just wasn't even a thing, right? So I was actually raised without religion. And so for the first 20 years of my life, I was very science oriented, very just looking at data and trying to see things through that lens, there was always a certain level of a feeling of a certain feeling that I had associated with it. Well, but for the most part, it was just basically like trying to like understand the world through science, through that scientific paradigm, right? And then I had some experiences through meditation and yoga and things like that that all of a sudden felt so true to me that like I couldn't even question them. It was like I knew that all of a sudden that there was this other thing out there, that there was this place of perfect love within me, that there was this oneness, this state where then everything made perfect sense, everything kind of like came into alignment, and that felt more real to me than any other experience I had ever had in my entire life. And that feeling of perfect monism, of perfect oneness, was basically my best evidence to support my beliefs, my metaphysical assumptions on the nature of reality. And so I'm not going to be a dogmatic dude. I'm not going to run out there and be like, hey, everyone should believe what I believe, because if anyone had told me what I was telling them right now, I wouldn't expect them to believe that, right? Or I would say, dude, no, I don't believe that. Like I didn't have that experience, right? So for me, it's very experience based. It's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Les 3S, like where we have experience out in the world, right? And the difference between knowledge and wisdom, right? And if we go out there and we have those life experiences, we learn a lot, right? And that experience that I had, that internal experience with monism, with that state of perfect love, has definitely shaped me and molded my belief system, and that's at my core. It felt more real to me than anything I've ever felt here in this dualistic framework, right? So if that's the case where you have two options. You could believe in something that doesn't feel very real, such as dualism to me, or something that feels perfectly real. And it's like the feeling of like being away from home for your whole life, and then all of a sudden coming home again, and you're remembering, and you're like, oh my God, I'm home again. I'm back in the place of perfect oneness. This is my eternal my eternal home. It was like that was a weird dream I had. So like that, and that's kind of how I view this dualistic framework. Is basically like a dream state. Like we went to sleep, we dreamt up this dualistic framework. You know, we basically said, what would it be like if we could create something that doesn't exist? Like if we could create a contradiction, and it's like, well, the laws the laws of existence say we can't create something that doesn't exist, right? So it would be like, what if we could though, right? And we're creative beings, so it's like we created this dualistic framework in my mind, just and we basically, when we created it, we just went to sleep and just started perceiving things through a distorted perceptual lens. And so that's just my metaphysics. You know, that's kind of how I see things. At the end of the day, you got to go with what feels most real to you. That's how I see it. And this dualistic framework, and like, you know, just getting up and like doing things in the world, I went grocery shopping today, you know, and picking out fruit, and you know, walks in the woods, and like, and going to some job you hate, you know, in an office from 9 to 5, you know, and like, you know, doing all the things that human beings do, you know, on a daily basis, right? That doesn't feel real to me. That doesn't feel real. It feels fake. It feels false. What feels real to me is is the experiences that I have when I go into meditation, when I go into that state of oneness. And when I go there, I remember who I am. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's real. It's like I was getting disrupted and distracted by all this stuff within this dualistic framework, but none of that shit ever felt. That doesn't feel real, you know, to me. But that's my personal. Again, that's my personal experience of it. All right. So let's see. You said less 3S. You said, what if there wasn't an omnipotent being, but just those? I just dealt with that. Dualism, sure. Omnipotent beings. Yeah, I mean, you don't need to say there's an omnipotent being. I mean, you could just say eternal energy, right? What if you just say like eternal, you know, omnipotent being could just be an X, right? It's just an X, and you could replace it with the eternal energy that exists, or you know, the eternal life force of all creation, right? Or something like that. And that's fine. It doesn't matter. That's the cool thing about my metaphysics. You don't need it's very inclusive, right? You could be any religion or any spirituality, or hold any most metaphysical positions, and still, you know, be included in my metaphysics. Let's see, Victor Sora, you said, but didn't you just say that our minds are too feeble to know the truth? That would include knowing what the truth is. Not, but only yes, but only from the external dualistic standpoint. I don't believe we're ever going to be able to know capital T truth, searching for it in the external world, because I believe that the external world isn't real to begin with. So it's basically like we're going out into a place of fiction and searching for truth, but you know, real truth lies within the capital T truth, right? And then less 3S, you say, I am saying we cannot know the truth, only our perception of it. Well, and these are very good. These are good arguments, right? And these are the arguments that have been made for countless generations. And all I would say to that, and you know what? A lot of people would agree with that. A lot of people would agree with that. You are not alone in saying that. And you know what? Les 3S and Victor Storm, I would agree with both with you guys 100%, if I had not had the experience that I had, you know, and the experiences that I've had, flat out. If someone had come up to me and said, hey, you know, here is what I believe, and then like shared that with, and it was like exactly what I believe right now, I would say, dude, I don't fucking believe that. I've never had that experience. That doesn't, you know, that doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't, no. And that's all. That's what I would say to that, man. So I'm not trying. I would never try to convince anyone, because I wouldn't even believe what I'm saying, you know, if I didn't have the experience. I'm just talking about what I experienced and what I hold as truth because of the experience. It was real. It was literally the equivalent of, here. Picture this, right? You wake up in the morning, you know, less. You wake up in the morning, and you wake up from a dream, and you're like, you had a crazy dream, right? And you're like, whoa, that was a crazy dream I just had, right? And then you get up and you go throughout your day, and that's it, right? That's it. You don't think anymore about that dream for the most part, right? Same thing happened to me, except it was the dualistic framework was the dream. I woke up one day and I was like, whoa, that was a crazy dream I had. and I was back at home in this place of perfect oneness, in this place of perfect love within me, and I was experiencing nothing but perfect love and peace and joy and happiness. And I remembered who I was. I remembered my purpose. I remembered everything that was meaningful, and that's where I am right now. So yeah, I would not I I absolutely would not agree with me if I was coming from one of your standpoints. I wouldn't, because of the way I think and the way I perceive reality. And I would never tell anyone to believe what I believe. But it's true from what I've experienced. That this dualistic framework was simply just a dream that, like, we woke up from, and we're like, hey, that was a crazy dream, and then you just move on and you just kind of go off into the world. Lest you say, mankind is made by genres, education, environment, and friends. We are always biased. There is no such thing as knowing the truth. That's a matter of opinion. That's a matter of opinion. Absolutely. I know what you believe, man. You've been saying it a bunch. That it's only interpretation. Basically, that everything is interpretation. And I get that. That's a coherent view to hold. It's a solid view to hold. There's a lot of good philosophy and argument, philosophers that back up that point and will argue that same point, truth and nail that you're articulating. I can just tell, the only thing I could say is that if I hadn't had the experience I had, I would be saying exactly what you're saying right now. Simple as that. If I had not experienced what I said, the words coming out of my mouth would be exactly what you're saying and exactly what Victor Sora is saying, and a lot of other people, a lot of other philosophers, right? But I have had the experience that I've had, so it just changed everything. Simple as that. But otherwise, sure, you say sure, but you believe in God. So no, I never said I believe in God. Or maybe if I did, I was just like, when I'm using God, I'm talking about like the universal force, the source of all creation. I don't have like God in my mind is a very fluid. It's a very fluid concept. It's like universal energy. The Christian God, the whatever, the Muslim God, like the philosophy, the God of philosophers. I basically just believe that there's something bigger than ourselves, right? Something but actually, funny enough, then I believe that it kind of is ourselves. But I think we're going. Oh, your comment was for lest, not what you said. Okay, all right. Well, all right. I've been talking a lot. I'm at the point where I'm sick of hearing myself talk. I've been talking for an hour and 40 minutes. JT Farms is like, phew, she's been waiting around for the meditation, so let's do it. It's time to meditate. I always come out super intense and like high intensity, and then we slow down the intensity, and we lower the energy to a more peaceful vibration, and we do the work, which is meditation. So you're going to want to get in a nice, comfortable, seated position. You can sit on the floor in lotus pose. You can sit cross-legged. You can sit in a chair. The main thing is to find a comfortable seated position that works well for you. And then gently close your eyes. And take a few deep breaths on your own. And I have a Buddhist chant that I play that has a chime that goes off every 2 seconds. And you can use that to help regulate your breath count. Take a few more deep breaths on your own. and become one with your breath. Inhale through your nose, gently raising your belly. Exhale through your mouth, gently lowering your belly. Breathe in through your nose, gently raising your abdomen. Breathe out through your mouth, gently lowering your abdomen. Stay focused on your breath. Inhale, gently raising your belly. Exhale, gently lowering your belly. Breathe in, gently raising your abdomen. Breathe out, gently lowering your abdomen. Keep your attention on your breath count. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. The breath calms the body, and the body calms the mind. Stay attentive of your breath. Inhale through your nose, raising your belly. Exhale through your mouth, lowering your belly. Breathe in, gently raising your belly. Breathe out, gently lowering your belly. Keep your awareness on your breath. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. Be mindful of your breath. Visualize yourself sitting on a mountaintop, watching the clouds move beneath you. Two clouds merge into one, and one cloud divides into two. Those clouds are like your thoughts. Thoughts come into being, exist in consciousness for a while, and then disappear from conscious awareness. In meditation, we go beneath the level of thought. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that is of no benefit. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that does not serve you well. Be mindful of your breath. When thoughts arise in your mind, visualize them as clouds moving through the sky and disappearing over the horizon. And return your focus to your breath count. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that does not serve you well. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that is of no benefit. Be mindful of your breath. When thoughts arise in your mind, visualize them as clouds moving through the sky and disappearing over the horizon. In meditation, we go beneath the level of conscious awareness. We go down to the heart chakra where our true essence resides. Your essence is love. The manifestation of love is light. Your purpose is to shine your light on others. And awaken the inner light within them. And they will shine their light on all whom they encounter. until the whole world is lit once again. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Breathe in, raising your belly. Breathe out, lowering your belly. Keep your awareness on your breath. When thoughts arise in your mind, visualize them as clouds moving through the sky and disappearing over the horizon. Clear your mind of all thought and travel down deep beneath the level of consciousness to the heart chakra, to the place where all is one. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that does not serve you well. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all ego that obscures your third eye sight. Stay focused on your breath. On your next inhale, travel down deeper beneath the level of consciousness. And as you exhale, release any residual thoughts that remain in your mind. Go down deep into that place of perfect oneness within you. Feel the perfect love that emanates from your heart chakra. Your essence is that love. Feel the warmth that emanates from that love. Feel the pulsation and the vibration around your heart chakra. That love is your foundational essence. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that is of no benefit. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that does not serve you well. Your essence is love. The manifestation of love is light. Your purpose is to shine your light on others. And awaken the inner light within them. And they will shine their light on all whom they encounter. Until the whole world is glowing radiantly once again. In that place of perfect monism, we reside. For we feel our perfect essence, that essence being love. And we feel our perfect purpose, which is sharing that love with others. uniting in oneness once again. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale, gently raising your belly. Exhale, gently lowering your belly. Breathe in, gently raising your abdomen. Breathe out, gently lowering your abdomen. Your essence is love. On your next inhale, travel down deep beneath the level of consciousness to your foundational essence that exists within your heart chakra. Feel the perfect love emanating from that location. Feel the perfect peace that resides there. Search through that love for the center point. The place where the love is the strongest. Explore the region around the center point. Feel the golden light pouring forth from your center. Inhale, focusing on your center point. Exhale, releasing all stress and tension from your being. Inhale, focusing on the warmth from that center point. Exhale, releasing any fear and worry from your body. On your next inhale, when you're ready, visualize the center point and go on through. Once you've gone through the center point, you come to remember who you are. In the center point, you remember your purpose. In the center, you remember how you came to be. In your center, you remember what you are. In the center point, you remember your divinity. In the center, you remember your eternal oneness. In the center point, you remember your eternal home. In the center point, you are one with the source of all creation. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all stress and tension from your being. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing any residual ego that remains. Inhale, filling your vessel with the utmost love and light. Exhale, freeing your body from this illusory dualistic framework. Inhale, delving down deep beneath the level of consciousness to your core. Exhale, releasing any thoughts that obstruct your third eye sight. Gently open your eyes and return to the present moment, bringing with you the peace from this meditation throughout the remainder of your day. Namaste. Thank you all so much for sharing this sacred space with me. I am truly honored and humbled to be here as your meditation guide and to share love and light with you all. I love each one of you unconditionally, and that will never change. For in pure love, we are all one. Thank you. How was that for everyone? I hope you all got a lot of love and light out of this meditation. I hope you feel more peaceful and content than you did prior to the meditation? I sure do. I feel much needed rejuvenation and light flowing through me. Thank you all so much. Let's see. I missed a few things in chat. Oh, Conjurink is here. Hey, Conjurink85 with the beautiful Gracie Power emote. So good to see you. Oh, you appreciated the meditation. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for that. You know, it's truly a blessing for me when there's someone here who does get something out of the meditation, who benefits from it, who has a little more love and light in their life. Thank you. Thank you for being here with me. Much appreciated. And Mags Astronomical is here. Hey, hi Maggie, how are you? A very emotional night for you so far. Well, I hope you participated in the meditation, and if so, I hope you got something out of it. I hope it maybe gave you what you needed. Yeah, this has been kind of an emotional day for me overall. Victor Soar, thank you so much. Thank you for being here in the meditation. Much appreciated. Yeah, I'm truly grateful that you were here. You know, you're always you're intelligent and you're in tune with the body and the mind, and it's just wonderful to have you here as well. And Lest, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here as well. I appreciate your company. And I love the fact that you're willing to speak your mind, Lest. I really appreciate that. Yeah, you said, I think that was quite the usual bullshit, but who am I? Yeah, right. I mean, I appreciate that. I like that. People need to be able to express themselves. Like if you hold things in, then it's not going to be beneficial. You need to be able to express yourself. You need to be able to let out those feelings. You said you are sorry. You are hyper intelligent. I get it. Yeah, you're super. You are super hyper. You're super hyper intelligent. All right. Well, cool, man. Cool. I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you're sharing this sacred space with us. It's good. It's good that you're here. Yeah. So yeah, excellent. Thank you all so much for a wonderful night. I feel so much love. That's what it's about at the end of the day. Feeling that unconditional love for every single person, regardless of their beliefs, right? That's what I'm espousing. That's exactly what I'm arguing for, because we're all one. We're all one consciousness. We're all one love. We're all one peace of mind. And the people in this chat are human beings. We're all just here. We're all here, and living within this illusory dualistic framework is rough, and and it's tough, and we're making it through. So thank you all so much for joining us and for being here. All right. Well, that about sums it up. That's about what I got for today. Let's see now who we can give back to. It's always fun now. This is always a fun moment to raid someone else, because there's just so many wonderful people out there, and when we give them when we give them a raid, we give them exposure, and we give them more love and more light in their lives. So that's what it's about at the end of the day, making those around you happy, being happy yourself and sharing that love and joy with everyone. Thank you all so much for being here with me. Thank you all for everything you do for me. And namaste to you. Delta Crab is streaming. He's a musician. I love supporting the arts and music. So we're going to raid Delta Crab. He's an awesome musician. Namaskar to you, Victor Soar. Namaskar to you as well. And let's give some love and light to Delta Crab. Really cool dude. He's just a positive, wonderful force on Twitch. Namaste.